Whether you get paid hourly, per project, or per item, there comes a time as a freelancer when you need to send an invoice. This video will explain the basics of what you need to include in your invoice, as well as teach you how to make a professional looking invoice for free using Canva. A good place to start is to ask the company that you're invoicing for any specifics that they would like you to include on the invoice. But as a basic rule of thumb, these are the common invoice staples that you are likely to see on most invoices. The first is an invoice number. You are at liberty to decide on the invoice number and you can go ahead and create your own system. But generally, most invoices start at INV 0001. This is a sequential system as to never repeat the same invoice number. For example, your first invoice could be INV 0001, then INV 0002, INV 0003, so on and so forth. Then it's a good idea to have your name and contact information. This could be a physical address, an email address, a contact number, maybe your website too if it's applicable, or your business name and registration details if you are billing from your own company. You want to state who the invoice is to on the invoice as well. Ensure that you get all their billing details correct, such as their registration name, address, registration number, their tax reference number. This is typical when it comes to invoicing larger businesses. If you're invoicing an individual, well, it could be a bit more informal when it comes to adding their information onto the invoice. You should also include the date of which you issue the invoice on the invoice as well. You could also include the due date of the payment on the invoice. Maybe you give them 30 days to make a payment, or maybe the payment date is on the issue of the invoice as well. Now, depending on the type of business that you're billing, you may want to include an order number. This is usually issued to you by the company you are billing when they give you a go-ahead and approve that you do the relevant work or supply the relevant goods. If this hasn't been specified to you by the company, you could ask, but there is also a chance that it just may not be relevant. Then you break down the description of the work that you did. There may be a specific term that describes it, or there may be a couple of different line items of different types of work that you completed. You can then include a rate for the hours or for the units, and then accumulate a total amount. If you include a discount, you can add it to the invoice too. If there are any taxes included or excluded, you can go ahead and add that to the invoice. If you're billing from an individual yourself, you wouldn't include value-added tax. Then state the currency that you're billing in, even if it seems obvious. And then if there are any payment terms, include those as well. For example, if there's perhaps a 50% deposit payment and the rest to be paid on completion of the project. And then finally, I like to include my bank details on the invoice. This prevents a holdup at the company's accounts department when it comes to them not being sure of where they need to pay the money. Guys, please don't take what I'm saying as financial advice. These are just typical things that you are likely to see on an invoice, and they are what we will be seeing when we're going through creating some invoices together now using free templates on Canva. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to find a template on Canva that we're going to work with. I found one that I like, and it's called the Modern Minimal Simple Invoice. You can also go ahead and search for invoices in general, and then you'll see a whole bunch of templates that you can work through and find one that you want to work with. So this is the template that we'll be editing together. You can click on it and it'll bring you through to this page over here. So we're going to zoom in a little bit at the bottom, scroll up, and the first thing we're going to work on is the invoice number. You can highlight the area that you want to edit, and you can insert your invoice number. We'll just call this one INV 0001, and this will be our example invoice. Now I'm just going to press enter so that it goes below invoice. And then I will try center align it. The grid lines will help me. Earlier on we saw this example, and I'm just going to show you how you can add a couple of things if you want to implement your own look and feel to the invoice. We're going to go to the elements option on the left hand side and type in graphic. We can select graphics over there, and we can scroll down and find graphics that we want to add to the invoice. So I'm going to select this. This is just to show you what you can do. You can move things around so that you find a look that you're happy with. You can flip things around as well. And as always, the Canva grid lines help you align everything beautifully. Now this was just to give you an example. This is actually the graphic I used in the example that you saw earlier on. So I'm just going to, I think it's glitter or something. I quite like the soft colors. But again, this is an example just to show you some of the features that you can use within Canva. But yeah, this is what the old one looked like. We're not going to do it exactly the same like this. We're going to go for more of a minimalist look. And the first thing that I want to do is highlight the date. This is where you can go to change the font if you're not too much of a fan of the font. You can also decrease and increase the size of the font over here. And we're going to play around with alignment. I must say I actually quite like it being center aligned, so we're going to have it center aligned. And again, you can go ahead and edit the date. And we're going to keep the due date for on receipt. Next, who are we billing? You can enter the name of the person that you're billing. If you have their information, this is a good place to insert it as well. And then you can edit your information and insert your name, your email address, and your website. Obviously, we want to make sure that this is applicable to you and the type of business you run, so you can fill out these fields accordingly. Now we're going to edit the description of the type of work that was done. So we're gonna have some fun. Let's say you did some filming, you did some editing, you created a logo, you created their brand guidelines, and there were a couple of consultation calls as well. Now let's say you don't need the last 2 lines, you can just highlight them and delete them. And then we can go ahead and customize the hours, the price, and the total. I find this template to be quite nice because if you were selling a product, you could list the products and change hours to quantity, and price would still be price, and then you could just work out the total. So again, customize this so that it suits the type of business that you're running. Remember to quote in your currency. I can't find the pound icon on my keyboard nor any other currency, so we're just going to work in dollars because that's proving to be easy. But again, quote in your own currency. All right, so we're going to go ahead and fill out the rest of the field. Now you can move up the final amount so that it sits beautifully under the description. But say you realize, oh no, you remembered you needed to add something, you can just copy and paste and then drag and drop and then edit accordingly. We're going to remove this and just drag the amount due up. All right, so we've got who we're billing it to, we've got who the money is coming to. I always find it's helpful to have your banking details on the invoice too. So what we're going to do is we are going to move things around at the bottom to make space for this. So I quite like the format of what we see over here. So I'm just going to highlight both by clicking on them and then hitting copy and then paste. Now we've got the same formatting. I'm just going to delete that. I'm just going to call this bank account information, and then I can just pull this to the side so that everything fits on the same line. And we'll add our bank name, we'll include the branch code, and then obviously the bank account number as well. But let's say, for example, somebody is paying to your PayPal account, you would then put your PayPal information. And if it's crypto, please let me know in the comments. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste this a couple of times because I quite like a look that I've seen on another template. So we're just going to change things around because I just want to show you what you can achieve, and I quite like this aesthetic. We're going to remove the line item so that we're just working with the separate bits of information. So we've got the number, we've got the email address, and now we're going to have the website. Okay, now I'm going to go and copy and paste that gray line, and I'm going to make it a little bit longer so it stretches across the width of the invoice. And then I'm just going to move it to the back so that we see the text. Next, I'm going to adjust the size of these individual pieces of information, and then I'm going to align them so that they will fit nicely within the given space. I also want to include this grey box. It's almost like a highlighted section, but also I like the aesthetic. So I'm just going to move that to the top. Now let's say we want to introduce some color. I'm going to go over to photos and then type in pink, and then there's a whole bunch of photos with different combinations of pink. And then Canva allows you to pull from the pink that you'll see in the picture to other elements on the template. Although I'm not going to have that picture on my invoice, I can still pull one of the softer shades of pink that I think could look beautiful on this invoice. If pink's not your color, you are more than welcome to type in the color of your choice. You'll also see a whole bunch of photos. Select the one that jumps out to you and then pull one of the colors from that image onto your invoice if you'd like. I realized that I didn't change the amount due. Always a good idea to make sure that you're charging the right amount. After some quick maths, we'll be invoicing $5,100. It's often nice to include a comma just to help the eyes see the number a little bit easier. You can head up to the top over here and rename it. We're going to click on share, then download. PDF standard is probably the best option because it emails across quite nicely and also looks professional. But once you're happy with the file type, click download. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel if you'd like to see more content from me in the future. I will also leave a video for you in the end screen that you can check out after this one. Maybe I'll see you there. Take care. Bye.